Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. Please stay tuned as our broadcast will start soon. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel now. At Blind Community Thrift Store on YouTube, and more info about this radio reading service, Navalins, and the Blind Community Thrift Store at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. The Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service will begin shortly. We will be reading local news from around the Southwest Missouri area, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. on YouTube, KSMU, and on the Audio Reader Network at Kansas University. For more information, please visit us at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com.
I know what they've read, so then there's a good chance I'll read the same thing, so I have to be really careful on that one. Do you want Blue Cross Blue Shield payout?
Sure.
Okay, we'll take that then, and that is on Ozarks First also. $2.67 billion.
What is it, Blue Cross?
Yeah, it's under, yeah. Oh, wow. When is this? Ooh, I went to, on Ozark First, I went to Springfield Greene County Library staff uncovers new details about, and that, who is that? Wow, Bill Hickok. Okay. All right, I'll take it, and I'll read this.
Oh, yeah.
Wait,
when is that? The 20th? Okay.
The time is 10 a.m.
Whenever you guys are ready to go.
Thank you for tuning in to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. My name is Pat, and I'm here today with Noah. We invite you to listen to our broadcast both live and on demand. Our live sessions are available on the Blind Community Thrift Store YouTube channel Monday to Friday between 10 a.m. and 12 p.m. each week. Additionally, you can access on-demand content through the Audio Reader Network, which offers a wide range of audio materials for the visually impaired community. To explore content from the Audio Reader Network, please visit www.reader.ku.edu. The site provides details about accessing content via Amazon Alexa, the Audio Reader Network mobile app, and information on receiving a radio to listen to the broadcast by KSMU Radio. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kilohertz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. We've got quite a bit of news, and not all of it's good this morning, but Noah's going to start us with something.
Kickapoo alum Spencer Rabarge's PBA Tour debut ends with a $20,000 check. Spencer Rabarge's terrific first week as a PBA Tour rookie ended in disappointment on Sunday as a Springfield bowler fell to his former college teammate at the PBA Players Championship. Fourth-seeded Brandon Bonta defeated fifth-seeded Rabarge of Springfield 227 to 173 in Arlington, Texas. The two were four-year bowling teammates at Wichita State, graduating in 2025. Rabarge, who averaged 228.9 through 46 games of qualifying, could not overcome a slow start in the opening match of the nationally televised stepladder finals at the season opening major. Rabarge, 23, had back-to-back opens early, missing a single pin spare in the third frame and failed to convert a split in the fourth. Bonta, who missed a single pin spare in the first, took advantage with two strikes to take the lead. It took until frame 7 for Rabarge to get his first strike. By then, he was trailing by 25 pins and facing an uphill climb to get back into the match. Rabarge, a 2021 Kickapoo High School graduate, earned $20,000. He talked with the Daily Citizen earlier this month about embarking on his longtime goal of competing on the PBA Tour. Bonta, also 23, went on to sweep 3 more matches for the $100,000 title. He beat world number 1 ranked E.J. Tackett 300 to 238 in the finale, earning an additional $10,000 for a televised perfect game. Next up for Rabarge is the PBA Pete Weber Missouri Classic in St. Peters, February 24th through March 1st.
Well, the library staff has uncovered new details about a shootout, but this shootout happened in 1865. The Springfield Greene County Library District says some of their local history staff uncovered new evidence that contradicts Wild Bill Hickok's placement in the historic 1865 Hickok-Tut shootout in Springfield's Town Square. In 1975, 2 bronze discs were placed in the park's central square, marking where historians believed Wild Bill Hickok and Davis Tutt stood during the duel on July 21, 1865, using resources available at the time. The markers claimed that Hickok stood in the southeast corner of the square and the men were 75 yards apart when Tutt was shot. However, in recent analysis, the library district says local history staff discovered evidence that Hickok did not stand in the southeast corner of the square, but rather in the southwest corner in the shootout. Other evidence also suggests that Hickok and Tutt were closer than 75 yards apart when they shot at each other, but the exact length is not known. According to the library district, this evidence was found when staff compared uncovered records of the 1865 court proceedings and other period sources to find new details about the event. Former local history staff associate Claire Porter then cross-referenced eyewitness accounts of Hickok's movements in relation to businesses on the square and business advertisements from the Springfield newspaper in 1865, determined that Hickok was in the southwest corner when the shots were fired. These findings underline the importance of returning to period resources in doing historical research, said Brian Grubbs, local history and genealogy manager, in a press release. The staff continues to reconstruct the events of 1865 shootout using court records and historical sources. Still, the library district says there is no evidence from the time period that shows Hickok stood in the southeast corner of the square. More information about the history of the 1865 Hickok-Tut shootout can be found on the Springfield Greene County Library District website or on the city's website. Noah.
Police respond to shots fired at Springfield business and one detained. Police say they responded Friday afternoon, February 20th, to a report of shots fired at a Springfield business. Chris Swatters, spokesperson for the Springfield Police Department, said the call came in at 2:12 p.m. at 3600 South National Avenue, Eustace's Psychiatric and Addiction Health. Swatters said no one was injured and police detained the suspect at the scene. Lieutenant Michael Ramsey with SPD said officers immediately entered the building upon arrival and were directed to an exam room on the main level where they found and arrested the suspect. Ramsey said the suspect is a man who was at Eustace's to receive treatment. Ramsey said police have not yet determined a possible motive for the shooting. Evidence at the scene indicates multiple shots were fired, according to Ramsey. The incident elicited a large police response with dozens of patrol vehicles descending on the area. At 3 p.m., the business was surrounded with police tape with patrol cars blocking one lane of northbound National Avenue.
It was quite a busy weekend or week on the highways and streets around Springfield and southwest Missouri. February 21st, a 17-year-old has died after a crash in Berry County, Missouri on Saturday, February 21st. According to Missouri State Highway Patrol crash report, the 17-year-old Rogers, Arkansas girl died at 10:25 a.m. on Missouri Route 76, 4 miles east of Cassville, Missouri, on Saturday. The report states the girl was a passenger as a 24-year-old Arkansas woman was driving a 2009 Honda Accord east when the vehicle traveled off the road and struck a tree. The 17-year-old was pronounced dead at around 11 a.m. on the scene by Berry County Coroner Gary Swearingen. The next of kin has been notified. The 24-year-old was transported to Mercy in Springfield with minor injuries. This is the 10th fatal crash for Troop D in 2026. Then a Warsaw man died in Benton County, a pedestrian crash. 28-year-old pedestrian from Warsaw, Missouri has died after being struck in a fatal crash Friday night. According to the Missouri State Highway Patrol crash report, a 2011 Ford Fusion was driving east on Route BB of Fur Drive, east of Fur Drive at around 11:41 a.m. when it hit a man who was in the roadway. The pedestrian was pronounced dead at the scene by Benton County Coroner. The Benton County Sheriff's Office assisted Missouri State Highway Patrol in the investigation. This one occurred prior to the Cassville incident. This was the seventh fatal crash. This was the seventh fatal crash in Missouri State Highway Troop A in 2026. Then also here, much closer to home, a fiery I-44 crash on the 19th. Springfield, Missouri, a terrifying crash near Highway 65 interchange left 2 semi-drivers injured, one trapped inside of a burning cab. We spoke with a woman who jumped a barrier, broke a window, and helped pull that driver out just seconds before a flame took over. Jessica Razak and her husband were heading back to Marshfield after dropping off a horse at Missouri State when she says everything changed in an instant. My husband sat up ahead and told me to stop. He's like, stop, stop, stop. All I saw was the truck coming towards us. Razak said a westbound semi slammed into another truck, blowing the trailer apart and ripping into its fuel tank, already on fire as it skidded towards their vehicle. With flames spreading, she said instinct took over. I jumped over the barrier and tried to open the door. It was locked. I just kept screaming at him to open the door. Dazed and unable to move, the driver didn't respond. Razak ran to her truck's toolbox, grabbed a hammer, and smashed the window. I broke the window with the hammer, and then he helped me get the driver out. While she pulled one driver from the burning cab, her husband ran to the second, the driver hit by the oncoming semi. She said the impact broke his seat and threw him into the sleeper, forcing rescuers to bring him out through a window. The last thing I wanted to do was watch somebody burn to death. There was seconds. Razak said the driver she rescued still had his phone in his hand, and she's not sure he ever hit the brakes. I felt so bad for the other driver that got hit. He's in horrible, horrible shape. The scene, she said, has replayed in her mind ever since. She has a message for drivers who pass by crashes with their cameras out. Get off your phones and look ahead. Your camera is not going to save anybody. Get off your phone and help. The Springfield Greene County Area Law Enforcement Agency said the crash remains under investigations. Witnesses reported the driver mentioned a blown tire, but the investigators have not confirmed that. Noah.
Missouri judge strips ballot candy from proposed constitutional amendment. A Republican judge in Cole County on Thursday, February 19th, ruled that the ballot summary must be rewritten for a proposed constitutional amendment that would make it much harder for Missourians to amend the Constitution through citizen initiative petitions. Cole County Circuit Judge Daniel Green ordered the first 3 bullet points of the summary voters will see on the ballot to be removed, saying they were misleading because they tout provisions already in state law, such as a ban on foreign campaign contributions and penalties for signature fraud. It isn't until the 4th bullet point that voters learn the proposal's main purpose, which is to require constitutional amendments put on the ballot by voters to obtain both a simple majority statewide and majority in all 8 congressional districts to pass. Currently, constitutional amendments only require a simple majority statewide. Scott Charton, spokesman for Missourians for Fair Governance, the political arm of the organization that filed the lawsuit, the Missouri Association of Realtors called the quick decision by Green to remove misleading ballot candy a total victory. We are grateful the court agreed with our arguments and is stripping the misleading, unfair, and prejudicial ballot candy from this bad measure, Charton said. Missourians deserve clarity in what they are voting on, especially when they are being asked by lawmakers to give up their citizen initiative power, a constitutional right they reserved for themselves more than a century ago. Passed by lawmakers during a special session last fall, convened to enact a gerrymandered congressional map. The proposed amendment would allow a small percentage of the state's voters to defeat any citizen initiative petition. During the 2024 general election, 311,915 votes were cast in the 1st district of the state's 2,960,266 votes. So 156,000 voters, or about 5% of the statewide vote, could prevent a measure from passing. Only citizen-led initiative petitions would be affected. Amendments placed on the ballot by state lawmakers are not included in the change. Missouri is one of 24 states that allows citizen initiative petitions. They can be used either to amend the Constitution or change state law, though the path to successfully doing so is often arduous and expensive, requiring tens of thousands of signatures to even land on the ballot. Through recent ballot measures, Missourians have legalized abortion and recreational use of marijuana and voted to increase the minimum wage and mandate paid sick leave. In 2024, the Abortion Rights Amendment passed with just shy of 52% of the vote, with large support from the state's urban, more populated areas. Voters in all but 8 of Missouri's 115 counties opposed the amendment.
This weekend we had a local group of activists gathered in Springfield on Saturday saying they are walking for peace, justice, and humanity at a time when immigration tensions are rising across the Ozarks. Organizers described the event as living, breathing prayer, meant to bring people together and push back against what they see as harmful rhetoric and policies surrounding immigration enforcement in Southwest Missouri. We are inspired by the spark for peace from Texas to D.C., organizer Kylie Randolph said. We just really felt that this area and this community could benefit from that same kind of energy. Randolph said the walk was about more than a movement. It was an effort to create unity in what she called a politically divided and emotionally charged moment. We were kind of walking as a living, breathing prayer for justice and peace, she said. The group also used the gathering to speak out against what they describe as inhumane immigration practices, including the detention of migrants at the Springfield Detention Center. Randolph said nearly 300 people are currently being held there under ICE custody. There are quite like 292 people in the Springfield Detention Center being detained by ICE, and only a handful of them, maybe 10, actually had any kind of criminal charge against them, she said. Organizers said their message is simple. Migration is a human right, and people deserve to be treated with dignity. Everybody deserves to strive for a better life, Randolph said. It's everyone's right to come to a better place. The walk comes as Branson recently approved a new cooperation agreement with ICE, a move that has sparked debate across the region. Randolph said she attended the aldermen's meeting herself. There's a lot of misinformation and false information and lies being, I believe, intentionally spread right now, she said. Organizers say they plan to hold more gatherings in coming weeks. When asked what they hoped for Southwest Missouri, Randolph said the goal is simple: compassion. If they're going to be here, I think the least we can do is just treat people kindly and compassionately and have sympathy, she said. Everybody has a well of empathy. We're just asking you to tap into it while you operate. They say they hope their message reaches anyone willing to listen and that their call for peace and compassion continues to grow.
Notham consolidates U.S. operations into a new Springfield headquarters. Notham Food Processing Systems has consolidated all of its U.S. operations under one roof with a move earlier this month into a 92,000 square foot Springfield headquarters. The facility is located at 3039 East Pythian Street. Notham manufactures pre-dust, batter, breading, and frying equipment, meaning the expansion shores up its contribution to the region's identity as a top 25 food manufacturing center, according to a ranked release in September 2025 by Global Location Strategies. Consolidating U.S. operations under one roof is intended to increase capacity and efficiency, according to a news release from Notham. Staffing the facility will be some 100 Notham employees representing manufacturing, inventory, logistics, sales, customer support, finance, human resources, marketing, engineering, development, and programming. Through Notham's focus on continuous improvement, customers will receive all-encompassing packages from a single location, the release states. Notham customers can test equipment, see their machines in production, and perform factory acceptance testing in one place before shipment to their factory. The new facility also enables Notham to remain in Springfield, where the company was founded and has had its home for more than half a century. Notham's new headquarters highlights productivity and planned growth, the release states, noting dual highway access points to facilitate shipping and receiving, while energy-saving options focus on sustainability. The announcement adds that the facility will attract and welcome new employees and assist the company in increasing its community involvement. According to past Springfield Business Journal reporting, the 42,000 square foot addition to Notham's existing building cost $8 million. The project included 12,000 square feet of new office space to include an expanded employee break room, multiple conference rooms, and an open office area, plus an additional production plant of 30,000 square feet with new shipping and receiving bays. The professional team for the project included architect Osmo LLC, general contractor Construct Cause LLC, and Engineers Own Inc., Civil, RTM Engineering Consultants LLC, Structural, and Jennifer Winslow PE LLC, Mechanical, Electrical, and Plumbing. Notham advises tailored products to meet unique customer needs with high performance. Notham serves the poultry, seafood, appetizer, alternative protein, and snack food industries with products designed to maximize flavor and minimize food waste.
A couple of items from History Today. On this date in 1945, 6 U.S. servicemen raised the American flag over Mount Suribachi on the island of Iwo Jima during World War II. The Battle of Iwo Jima, part of the U.S. Pacific Campaign against Japan, was one of the bloodiest conflicts of the war. In 1870, Mississippi was readmitted to the United States following the American Civil War. The state had seceded from the Union in January of 1861. And in 1836, during the Texas Revolution, Mexican General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna began a siege of the Alamo, which was captured after 13 days and which became, for Texans, a symbol of heroic resistance, invoking the phrase, "Remember the Alamo." Here in Springfield, we had the Sertoma 2026 chili cook-off. That was on Saturday and on Saturday, and then I also have the results from Sunday. The 44th annual cook-off returned to Springfield on Saturday, and organizers said this year's turnout may be one of the largest in the event's history. The long-running fundraiser brings thousands of people together each year to support Boys and Girls Club of Springfield, a partnership organizers say stretches back more than 8 decades. We're having our annual kickoff to raise money for the Boys and Girls Club, said Eric Braun, president of Springfield Sertoma. We actually started the Boys and Girls Clubs back in 1941. This is our 44th annual cook-off to raise money, and we give money to support the kids in our community. Braun said last year's event brought in about $85,000. This year, organizers were aiming even higher. Last year we gave about $85,000, and this year we're planning on more, he said. I'll bet we're going to see 5,000 to 6,000 people. For some, the chili cook-off is more than a fundraiser, it's a tradition. David Stout, who has been involved with Sertoma for 52 years, has attended all 44 cook-offs. I've been to all 44, Stout said. Typically, the chili from Buffalo raises about $120,000 to $540,000 of profit. That goes to numerous charities, but primarily the Boys and Girls Club. The duck races are more fun as well. Stout said the people return year after year because they know the money stays local. It's like family high school reunion. You see people once a year that you don't see otherwise. It's a great time. Event organizers say it takes a massive team to pull off the cook-off each year. Travis Finfentel co-chair for the Era Sertoma Club, says more than 300 volunteers are involved. We have over 300 volunteers that put this together, Finfentel said. We have over 65 cook teams. There are lots of great sponsors that help us, and it's a combination of volunteers, sponsors, and teams that put all this event together. Finfentel said the group prepared roughly 100,000 servings of chili for this year's cook-off, along with refreshments, ice creams, and other treats. Organizers say the cook-off continues to grow, and so does the impact on local kids who rely on the Boys and Girls Club throughout the year. Then yesterday, they announced the winners at the cook-off. All categories were announced by organizers after another successful year of fundraising, live music, and chili. The Sertoma Chili Cook-Off took place on Saturday, February 21st, at the Springfield Expo Center in downtown Springfield. It was a 44th year event with proceeds going to Boys and Girls Club of Springfield. The best booth went to AECI, second place was to Springfield Police, and third was to Classic Lawns. For showmanship was also first place AECI, second place also to police officers, and Nacho Ordinary Taco took third place. Best costume was first place AECI, second place Phoenix Home Care, and third place Nacho Ordinary Taco. Judges best of show, AECI, no surprise there. The Fattest Fish Bowl from a nonprofit and group was first place Springfield Firefighters, second place Springfield Police, and third place IBEW. The Fattest Fish Bowl sponsors, first place Thompson Sales, second place Mediacom, and third place Brad Bradshaw. The fattest fishbowl by a restaurant was first place Dogwood Canyon, third place Bayers, and third place Incredible Food. The fattest fishbowl by a small business was first place Classic Lawns, second place Wicked Ranch, and third place Skinner Roofing. The fattest fishbowl by medium business was 417 Travel, second place Jackson Hewitt, and third place Elfindale Retirement Community. Fattest fishbowl by a large business was first place AECI, second place MD Kinney, and third place Lucas Oil. Rookie of the Year was U.S. Bank.
Poking around. Federal judges order bond hearings for some ICE detainees in Greene County Jail. With increasing regularity, Immigration and Customs Enforcement detainees in the Greene County Jail are demanding bond hearings and suing Greene County Sheriff Jim Arnott, ICE, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, and Attorney General Pam Bondi. Federal judges M. Douglas Harpool and Brian C. Wimes have sided with plaintiffs, ordering Arnott and federal officials to either set a bond hearing in 7 to 10 days or release the detainees. Federal judges are making similar rulings across the nation. The granting of a bond hearing does not necessarily stop deportation, and instead it allows the detainee to post a bond and get out of jail as the matter is resolved. Many of the detainees filing these federal habeas petitions are from across the nation, but their pleadings are landing in federal court in Springfield because the jail where they are incarcerated is in Greene County. A habeas petition is a legal action that allows a detained person to challenge in court their imprisonment. A quick review of federal online filings show that Arnott was named as a defendant or respondent 4 times in 2022, 4 times in 2023, 6 times in 2024, 26 times in 2025, and 18 times thus far in 2026. The jail has a contract with the federal government to house up to 300 ICE detainees a day. Greene County receives about $100 a day in reimbursement for each ICE detainee. That $100 does not include the cost of any medications the ICE detainees receive in the jail. The contract was signed in October of 2024 and has resulted in hundreds of ICE detainees landing in the Greene County Jail as the Trump administration ramped up efforts to arrest and deport people deemed to be in the United States without proper documentation. The administration assured Americans it would go after the worst of the worst. I reached out to the sheriff's office and asked if Greene County was incurring any of the expense involved in these legal proceedings or if the cost is being borne by the federal government. I did not hear back by the deadline. Rekha Sharma Crawford, an immigration attorney in Kansas City, told the Daily Citizen last year that the sheriff must be named in these lawsuits since the inmates are in Greene County, but the lawsuits are really focused on the Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security. In rulings filed in recent weeks that I've looked at, Harpool and Wimes have concluded that these detainees who have been living in the country for years, if not decades, should be treated differently than those detained at the border. They've concluded that detainees who have lived here for years and do not have a criminal record are entitled to a bond hearing. I asked Harpool if this new caseload was difficult to handle in terms of resources at the federal courthouse. He responded via email. When we order a bond hearing, it is before an immigration judge. Those hearings typically are occurring before immigration judges in Kansas City. They do not occur in our courthouse or by our court judges. I have one case where I ruled the bond hearing provided failed to comply with legal requirements, but that was atypical. Normally, the decision to issue bond is solely up to immigration judges. I have heard they are backed up. I should note that immigration judges are not part of the federal judiciary. They are part of the Department of Justice, and they are hired and fired by Attorney General Bondi. Several of our federal district judges have these habeas cases and have ordered bond hearings, Harpool said. Last count, I had 26 of these cases. Habeas cases must be filed in the district where the inmate is found. In some of these cases, I have simply ordered release based on previously approved parole. ICE had detained them even though they were on approved parole. On all others, I ruled they were entitled to bond hearings. Previous administrations from both parties had provided bond hearings in these situations, but this administration took the opposite position. These cases are being litigated all over the country. Virtually all district judges have ruled as I have, but several circuit courts, including the 8th, which includes the Springfield area, have expedited cases to resolve the legal issue. In two separate cases I reviewed, Harpool ruled in favor of plaintiffs Keqing Fu of China and Tatiana Lazkina of Russia. Here's a brief look at their histories according to court documents. Fu entered the United States 3 years ago. Petitioner has no criminal record. On January 15, 2026, he was taken into custody by ICE officials during his ICE check-in. He had previously presented himself to a number of check-ins throughout the years he had been present in the United States. He has been held without a bond hearing. Harpool ordered on February 17th that Fu be released from custody. He was not on the online jail roster when I checked on February 19th. Lazkina is a citizen of Russia who entered the U.S. to seek protection from persecution and torture. She arrived at Chicago O'Hare Airport on June 25, 2016, with her 3 children. Upon arrival, she expressed a well-founded fear of persecution based on death threats and attacks tied to her spouse's refusal to participate in corruption related to their family's sawmill business in Russia. Petitioner suffered persecution, including death threats and attacks after her husband refused to pay extortion demands related to their business. Petitioner has significant U.S. equities, including nearly 10 years of continuous residence, the presence of all her children and their families, including a U.S.-born grandchild, and strong community ties. Petitioner has never been arrested or charged with any crime. On November 20th, 2025, Petitioner and her spouse drove to a local Home Depot to shop for business supplies. They were immediately surrounded by multiple vehicles and blocked on all sides. An ICE agent called their names, approached them, and arrested them on the alleged basis of being illegal. This occurred despite Petitioner's long-term residence in the United States and her pending asylum application before an immigration court. Harpool ruled that Lazkina either have a bond hearing within 10 days of the date of his ruling, which was January 14th, or to be released. A bond hearing was held January 23rd. Bond was set at $20,000 by an immigration judge. Harpool reviewed the bond and determined that ICE's expressed concerns that Lazkina was a flight risk were not supported by any evidence presented. He ordered that either a new bond hearing be held or she be released. She was released. Judge Wimes ruled in favor of plaintiffs Randu Escoto and Jose Bravo Vargas, 42. According to court documents, Escoto in 2013 entered the United States without inspection or authorization. In November 2020, DHS arrested Escoto and placed him on removal proceedings. Thereafter, Escoto was released on a $5,000 bond. In August 2025, DHS again detained Escoto as inadmissible. Escoto is and has been in ICE custody and has not been provided a bond hearing. Court records do not indicate Escoto has a bond hearing. He apparently was released. I checked the jail roster February 19th and he was not listed. Both judges had ordered that detainees not be moved out of the court's jurisdiction while the matter of bond was being determined. Regarding Bravo Vargas, in 2006, Bravo Vargas entered the United States without inspection or authorization and has not departed the country since his arrival. He has maintained employment, has 4 children who are United States citizens, and 1 who is a lawful permanent resident by marriage, and has no criminal history. His only law enforcement contact prior to his arrival by ICE was a citation for a failed brake light, for which he incurred a small fine that he promptly paid. Wimes made his ruling February 17th. He ordered that either Bravo Vargas have a bond hearing within 7 calendar days or be released. As of February 21st, Bravo Vargas no longer appeared on the Greene County Jail's online roster.
Okay, just some little blips from what are holidays today. I don't know if they're really holidays, but we'll call them holidays because the newspaper does. Today is annually observed on February 23rd is Curling Day. Don't know if you've been listening to the Olympics, but there's a lot of comedy going on about curling. But today is Curling Day. Celebrates a sport that is cool both because it's hip and because it's played on ice. Curling is one of the world's oldest team sports. Heavy granite stones, usually weighing 44 pounds, are slid down a rectangular sheet of ice towards a target. The targets are made of 4 concentric circles, and stones that stop closer to the center of a target are given higher scores. Curling brooms are used by sweepers to help guide the stones by sweeping the ice in front of the stones as they make their way down the ice. Teams are usually composed of 4 players each, and each team gets 8 stones. The game was given the nickname the Roaring Game because of the rumbling sound the stones make as they slide across the ice. It has also been called chess on ice. Curling began in the Scotland in the 1500s, where it was played on ponds and lakes during winter. Some people still play it outside in similar settings. The earliest curling stone dates to 1511, and the first written records of the sport to date was 1540. In the 1600s, stones with handles were introduced. The Caledonia Curling Club was formed in 1838, and with it, the first rules of the sport were adopted. And that's going on in the Olympics. In 1957, a meeting took place to try to form an international organization. An organization would be necessary in order to apply to get into the Olympics. A meeting was held once again in 1965, and 6 countries agreed to form the International Curling Foundation. It was officially established in 1966, and the United States joined the following year. Its constitutions set the rules for international curling competition. In 1990, its name was changed to the World Curling Federation. So there you know all you need to know about curling. We also have today is National Rationalization Day. People come up with all kinds of false and fake reasons and excuses or rationalizations and why they did something wrong or why they didn't get their work done. They rationalize and justify their actions or lack of actions, and sometimes even blame others. National Rationalization Day gives everyone the opportunity to rationalize as much as they'd like. It's a day when people look at all their past mistakes and try to rationalize them. They make excuses until everything from the past that hasn't gone quite right it appears fixed. People also take breaks from their work and then rationalize taking them too. How to observe National Rationalization Day. Spend the day rationalizing all your past mistakes. Take breaks from your work and rationalize them too. By the end of the day, you should be feeling pretty good about yourself. All your past mistakes will be erased and you'll be rested. Share your rationalizations online with hashtag National Rationalization Day with no spaces. If you don't feel like sharing, that's okay. I'm sure you can come up with a good reason not to. Speaking of good reason not to, they have postponed the flames or the prescribed burn that was to take place today at the Nature Center. A prescribed burn that had been planned for Monday at the Missouri Department of Conservation's Springfield Conservation Nature Center has been canceled due to changing weather conditions. According to MDC spokesperson Sarah Carnes, officials determined the vent rate, a key measure used to ensure smoke disperses safely, is expected to fall below the minimum threshold required under the burn plan. As a result, conditions would be outside of the safe area operating range for conducting the controlled fire. The burn has been scheduled to cover about 4 acres of prairie and savanna habitat as part of routine land management efforts. Prescribed burns are commonly used to promote growth of native grasses and wildflowers, return nutrients to the soil, and reduce invasive plant species that can harm local ecosystems. MDC officials say Friday is now a possible date for the burn depending on weather conditions. When conducted, prescribed fires are closely monitored by trained personnel to ensure safety and effectiveness. Temporary trail closures are also typically put in place during the burn operations. Conservation leaders emphasize that controlled burns are a critical tool for maintaining healthy landscapes and supporting wildlife that depends on native habitats.
$2.67 billion settlement payout. Blue Cross Blue Shield customers to receive compensation. Millions of Americans who previously had health insurance through Blue Cross Blue Shield Association may soon receive settlement payments as part of a massive $2.67 billion class action agreement resolving antitrust claims. The 2013 lawsuit alleged that Blue Cross Blue Shield companies limited competition and drove up insurance costs by dividing markets and avoiding competition with one another. While the insurers denied wrongdoing, they agreed to the settlement to avoid prolonged litigation. A federal judge in Alabama approved the massive settlement agreement in October 2020. Payments are expected to begin rolling out in May 2026 to eligible claimants who filed valid claims before the November 2021 deadline. Roughly $1.9 billion of the fund will be distributed to subscribers after legal fees and expenses are deducted, with individual amounts varying based on premiums paid and the type of coverage. About 6 million claims were submitted nationwide, and most individual payouts are expected to be modest. The settlement includes many people who are covered by a Blue Cross Blue Shield plan between February 2008 and October 2020. Individuals had until November 5, 2021 to submit claims, while providers had until July 29, 2025. The settlement administrator began issuing claim notices to eligible class members on February 16, 2026. In addition to the monetary settlement, BCBS agreed to operational changes to increase market competition. The lawsuit resulted in one of the largest antitrust settlements in the U.S. healthcare industry.
There's a election coming up April 7th, and absentee voting in Greene County starts tomorrow, February 24th, and here's what to know. Absentee voting begins on February 24th for eligible voters who are unable to make it to their regular polling place on April the 7th for the upcoming general municipal election. People can vote absentee in person or through the mail. Here's what to know about absentee ballots and the issues that are coming up in the ballot for Greene County residents. How do I know if I can cast an absentee ballot? Voters are allowed to cast an absentee ballot for the following reasons, according to the Secretary of State's office. If on election day they will be absent from where they are registered to vote, if they are incapacitated or confined due to illness or physical disability on election day, or are a primary caregiver and live at the same address as a person who is incapacitated or confined due to illness or physical disability, religious belief or practice, if they are employed as an election authority or by an election authority at a location other than the voter's polling place, a first responder, a healthcare worker, or a member of law enforcement, if they are incarcerated, provided all qualifications for voting are retained, or if they are a certified participant in Missouri's address confidentiality programs because of safety concerns. Where can I cast an absentee ballot in person? In-person absentee voting will be available at the Greene County Election Center, 1126 North Boonville Avenue in Springfield, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Monday through Friday, up to and including the day prior to the election. What do I need to cast an absentee ballot in person? In order to vote in person, absentee, voters must present one of the following forms of photo identification: a non-expired Missouri driver's or non-driver's license, a non-expired military ID including a veteran's ID card, a non-expired United States passport, another photo ID issued by the United States or the state of Missouri which is either not expired or expired after the date of the most recent general election. How do I vote absentee by mail? In order to vote absentee by mail, voters can submit a handwritten request or complete and mail in the fillable form available at vote.greenecountymo.gov. The request should be sent to the Greene County Clerk's Office, 940 North Boonville Avenue, Room 113 in Springfield. Request must be signed by the voter and be received by the clerk's office no later than 5 p.m. on March 25th. Mailed ballots must be voted, notarized, returned by mail, and received by the county clerk's office by 7 p.m. on April the 7th. Again, that fillable form is available at vote.greencountymo.gov. How do I know what issues I'm voting on? To see a sample ballot, you will receive to go to voteroutreach.sos.mo.gov/portal. Again, that's voteroutreach.sos.mo.gov/portal, and enter in the information to check your voter registration status. It will take you to a page with your current voter registration information, which includes election resources such as where your polling place is and the availability to view candidates and issues. What are people in Springfield city limits voting on? People in the city of Springfield will once again be voting on an increased lodging tax to fund a new convention center. The Springfield City Council voted unanimously on January 12th to send the tax increase issue back to the ballot in April. According to Springfield News-Leader reporting, the question on the April ballot will ask voters whether to raise the current lodging tax, which is paid by anyone booking hotel rooms and short-term rentals in the city, by 3% to fund the construction, operation, and maintenance of a new convention center in downtown Springfield. If approved, the additional 3% tax would automatically expire after 35 years. The official language is below. Shall the city of Springfield, Missouri impose an additional 3% license tax on the business of renting, leasing, or letting living quarters, sleeping accommodations, rooms, or a part thereof in connection with any hotel, motel, tourist court, or short-term rental derived from or paid by transient guests for sleeping accommodations for the purpose of attracting travel and tourism, including the construction, operation, and maintenance of a regional convention or events center, ? The additional 3% license tax shall automatically expire after a period of 35 years. What are people in the R6 Stratford School District voting on? People in this district will be voting on the school district's Board of Education, as well as whether the district should borrow money to improve the district. Voters will choose the 3 board members who will each serve a 3-year term, which includes Ashley Van Horn, Austin M. Owens, and Brent T. Ward. Beth Keith is running uncontested for a 1-year term on the board. Voters will also vote on Proposition Kids, KIDS, which would allow the school district to borrow $16 million in order to expand and upgrade learning environments, improve district facilities, make improvements to the agriculture buildings, instructional space, construct an ADA accessible playground at an elementary school, reconfigure parking and traffic flow, complete other repairs and improvements, and issue general obligation bonds. The loan would not increase the current debt service property tax levy, which is currently 0.70 or 70 cents per $100 of assessed valuation of real property. The official language is below. Shall the Board of Education of Stratford R6 School District, Missouri, which is an estimated increase in the current debt service property tax levy, borrow money in the amount of $16 million for the purpose of providing funds to expand and upgrade learning environments to support academic growth, to improve district facilities as the Max Evans Gymnasium, Indian Plaza athletic areas, and the auditorium with enhanced accessibility and updated public use features, to make improvements to the agriculture buildings' instructional spaces, to construct an ADA accessible playground at an elementary school, to reconfigure parking and traffic flow as needed, to the extent funds are available, complete other repairs and improvements to existing district facilities, and issue general obligation bonds for the payment thereof, ? If this proposition is approved, the adjusted debt service levy of the school district is estimated to remain unchanged at 70 cents per $100,000 of assessed valuation of real and personal property. What are people in the Willard Fire Protection District voting on? In the Willard Fire Protection District, voters will be deciding on board of directors for 4-year terms and 2-year terms. Additionally, they will vote on an additional tax increase to support the Fire Protection District. Dale Hull is running uncontested for a 4-year term on the board of directors. Greg Schuritz and Greg Rains are both running for the 2-year 2-term on the board. Question 1 asks voters to decide if the Fire Protection District should be able to levy an additional tax of no more than 20 cents per $100 of assessed property value to support the district. The official language is as follows. Shall the Board of Directors of the Willard Fire Protection District be authorized to levy an additional tax of not more than 29 cents on the $100 assessed property valuation to provide funds for support of the district? What are people in Battlefield city limits voting on? Depending on where you live in Battlefield, you will be voting for 2-year or 4-year terms for alderman. In Ward 1, there are 2 races. The first is between Ashley E. Anderson and Samantha Deaton for a 4-year alderman term. The second is between Desiree Marsh, Matt McNitt, Cheryl Montgomery, Brandon Lane, and Ashley Reed for a 2-year term as alderman. In Ward 2, voters will decide between Nathan Westmoreland and Kevin Britt for a 4-year term as alderman. In Ward 3, voters have 2 alderman races. The first is between Timothy Kelly Sr. and Ben Clemens for a 4-year term as alderman. In the second, Doug Cuneo is running uncontested for a 2-year term as alderman.
Fiery I-44 crash. Witness jumps barrier, breaks window to save trapped driver. A terrifying crash near the Highway 65 interchange left 2 semi-truck drivers injured, one trapped inside a burning cab. We spoke with a woman who jumped a barrier, broke a window, and helped pull that driver out just seconds before flames took over. Jessica Razak and her husband were heading back to Marshfield after dropping off a horse at Missouri State when she says everything changed in an instant. My husband sat up and told me to stop. He's like, "Stop, stop, stop." All I saw was the truck coming towards us, she said. Razak says a westbound semi slammed into another truck, blowing the trailer apart and ripping into its fuel tank, already on fire as it skidded toward their vehicle. With flames spreading, she said instinct took over. I jumped over the barrier and tried to open the door. It was locked. I just kept screaming at him to open the door. Dazed and unable to move, the driver didn't respond. Razak ran into her truck's toolbox, grabbed a hammer, and smashed the window. I broke the window with the hammer, and then he helped me get the driver out. While she pulled one driver from the burning cab, her husband ran to help the second, the driver hit by the oncoming semi. She says the impact broke his seat and threw him into the sleeper, forcing rescuers to pull him out through a window. The last thing I wanted to do was watch somebody burn to death. There was seconds. Razak says the driver she rescued still had his phone in his hand, and she's not sure he ever hit the brakes. I feel so bad for the other driver that got hit. He's in horrible, horrible shape. The scene, she says, has replayed in her mind ever since, and she has a message for drivers who pass by crashes with their cameras out. Get off your phones and look ahead. Your camera is not going to save anybody. Get off your phone and help. The Springfield-Greene County area law enforcement agencies say the crash remains under investigation. Witnesses report the driver mentioned a blown tire, but investigators have not confirmed that.
From the Springfield Daily Citizen, this is just new this morning, 5 hours ago. Springfield man wants felony murder charge dropped in the death of a 4-year-old. Sean Collins is a felon and cannot legally possess a firearm. Last summer, police say a 4-year-old picked up a gun in Collins' home and fatally shot himself. Prosecutors charged Collins with second-degree murder under the Missouri's felony murder statute. A Springfield man charged with a second-degree murder after a 4-year-old boy at his home picked up a loaded handgun and fatally shot himself last summer is asking the judge to dismiss the murder charge. Sean Antoine Collins, 30, is also charged with the felonies of endangering the welfare of a child, death of a child, 3 counts of an unlawful possession of a firearm, and 3 counts of receiving stolen property. He's being held in Greene County Jail without bond. Collins was charged with second-degree murder under Missouri's felony murder statute, meaning prosecutors do not allege he killed the child, but rather that Collins was perpetrating a felony and the child died as a result. The underlying felony in this case is the unlawful possession of a firearm charge, since Collins is a convicted felon. Collins' defense attorney filed a motion to dismiss the second-degree murder charge in January, arguing in part that the underlying felony of unlawful possession of a firearm does not create a reasonably foreseeable risk of death. A hearing was held Wednesday, February 18th, in Judge Jerry Harrison's courtroom, at which attorneys for both sides made arguments about the issues relating to the felony murder charge. At the conclusion of the hearing, Harrison said he would take the issue under advisement. About the fatal shooting. Police say the 4-year-old boy picked up a loaded gun and shot himself on the afternoon of August 8, 2025, at Collins' home in the 1900 block of North Fulbright Avenue. The child was rushed to the hospital where he was pronounced dead. According to charging documents, police searched the house with Collins' permission and found 3 loaded guns that were reported stolen. Collins is a convicted felon and prohibited from possessing firearms. According to the documents, Collins was outside barbecuing and using marijuana with other adults when they heard the gunshot from inside the residence. Collins allegedly told police that it was his friend's gun that was left loaded and accessible to the boy. He also allegedly told police he was unaware he was a felon and was prohibited from possessing a gun. Defense: possessing a gun does not necessarily mean someone will die. Collins' defense attorney, John Peacock, argued at Wednesday's hearing that using the unlawful possession of a firearm charge as an underlying felony to charge Collins with second-degree murder is an overexpansion of the original purpose of Missouri's felony murder statute. It's about what's right, Peacock said. Expanding felony murder and taking a tragedy and making it into a crime of this proportion is improper, and we do believe it breaks the spirit of the law. It breaks the ability of my client to defend himself. Peacock argued that underlying felony, when considered in the abstract, does not create a reasonably foreseeable risk of death, as required by proximate causation in felony murder cases. It should be foreseeable that committing that felony will result in death. It should be. This is not one of those cases, Peacock said at the hearing. This crime does not automatically mean a death will occur. Robbing someone will. Possession or distributing drugs will. But this isn't that. Greene County First Assistant Prosecuting Attorney Elizabeth Fax pointed to the case law that allows the underlying felony to be unlawful possession of a firearm, and whether proximate cause has been established, that it should be decided at trial. Those are factual disputes that we can resolve through trial, and it will be inappropriate at this point for the court to dismiss it based on factual disputes, Fax said. Their position is that I will not be able to meet the burden of proof, and if that is true, then the trier of the fact will decide that the defendant is not guilty of murder in the second degree. Peacock also argued that the charge of second-degree murder violates Collins' Eighth Amendment right, which protects Collins from cruel and unusual punishments. The attorney pointed out that the punishment ranged from Class C felony of unlawful possession of a firearm to 3 to 10 years in prison, and punishment range for second-degree murder is anywhere from 10 to 30 years of life. This isn't something in the statute. The unlawful possession of a firearm gives notice of, Peacock says, referring to the potential sentence of 30 years in prison. That range of punishment is well in excess of what one would accept if they were convicted of that offense, unlawful possession of a firearm. Prosecutor, that's Gun Ownership 101. Facts, the prosecutor pointed out that the maximum penalty for unlawful possession of a firearm is the same as the minimum for second-degree murder. I think that the punishment fits the crime, so to speak. It should not fall into cruel and unusual territory, Facts said. A lot of the defense's argument was, as you know, you can have a firearm and not expect it to kill someone, which, I disagree with, but we're not talking about legal possession of a firearm. We're talking about he was a felony and one was unlawfully in possession of that firearm, that he left the firearm out, that the defendant's son accessed the firearm and was killed. Facts said, in terms of the Eighth Amendment, if we're talking about what is the normal position on notice for, well, a normal person would understand if I leave a loaded firearm out within access that I can't legally possess and my 3-year-old can get a hold of, there's going to be a crime associated with that conduct. That's Gun Ownership 101. Loaded gun left in the game room. According to the probable cause statement, police also found an ammunition magazine under the bathroom sink that appeared to have blood on it. The investigators believe the magazine goes to a Glock 43, which the boy was handling when he shot himself. According to the statement, that gun had been left loaded on the counter under the television in which was described as the game room. In the game room. According to the statement, an adult friend of Collins, who was not named in the document, is the one who brought the gun to Collins' home and who called 911. This friend allegedly told police he believed that Collins went inside and made an attempt to hide the other guns before the police arrived. This article was submitted to the Springfield Daily Citizen by Jackie Rewald. Rewald covers public safety and the courts, homelessness, domestic violence, and other issues for the Springfield Daily Citizen.
Local paleontologist uncovers Ice Age mammoth bone in northwestern Missouri. A prehistoric discovery in northwest Missouri may be one of the rarest finds in the Midwest. A local paleontologist uncovered a mammoth bone, taking us back to the Ice Age when giants roamed the Show Me State. For over 2 decades, Jason Howery has searched for Ice Age remains in northwest Missouri. His finds include giant deer, an Ice Age horse, ancient bison, and now the femur of a Columbian mammoth. When I first got there, it was the very first thing that I saw, and I looked down and there it was, and I was like, no way, Howery explained. More than 10,000 years ago, glaciers covered northern Missouri and Kansas, creating ideal conditions for humans to hunt the now long extinct animals. Nottoway County is home to a rare prehistoric butcher site where evidence of that activity still exists today. There have been somewhere around 50 confirmed butcher sites in North America. It's rare. It's extremely rare, Howery said. Howery also said that this discovery may be his most important yet. There's a specific texture to Ice Age bone that doesn't feel like anything else in the world. When you feel it, it has this sticky, glassy texture to it. So as soon as my hands hit it, I was like, I know this feeling, he shared. He also shares his discoveries with community programs and school outreach aimed at sparking curiosity in the next generation. Really, the goal is to inspire kids to put their phones down and get out into nature and explore, because there is so much history that is still out there right below our feet. Now, as a self-funded paleontologist, he's raising money to continue his work, including testing the bone. Howery said that he would like to have it CT scanned and radiocarbon dated to determine the age and value of the bone. While there's no guarantee of what comes next, Jason says the search is always worth it. So many possibilities, and you never know what's going to be there. You don't always find things, but you find peace, you know?
We are currently broadcasting live from the Blind Community Thrift Store situated at 2713 North Kansas Expressway in Springfield, Missouri. For additional information about our store, please visit our official website at www.blindcommunitythriftstore.com. To explore more of our video content, including movie reviews with Matt and Meredith, adaptive technology training videos, and other informational material, please visit your YouTube channel by searching for Blind Community Thrift Store. Our organization is dedicated to supporting the blind community through various initiatives, and our online platforms serve as valuable resources for community engagement and education.
Postponed. Flames at Springfield Nature Center. Officials say it's a good thing. A prescribed burn that has been planned for today at the Missouri Department of Conservation's Springfield Conservation Nature Center has been canceled due to changing weather conditions. According to MDC spokesperson Sarah Carnes, officials determined the vent rate, a key measure used to ensure smoke disperses safely, is expected to fall below the minimum threshold required under the burn plan. As a result, conditions would be outside of the safe operating range for conducting the controlled fire. The burn had been scheduled to cover about 4 acres of prairie and savanna habitat as part of routine land management efforts. Prescribed fires are commonly used to promote the growth of native grasses and wildflowers, return nutrients to the soil, and reduce invasive plant species that can harm local ecosystems. MDC officials say Friday is now a possible date for the burn, depending on weather conditions. When conducted, prescribed fires are closely monitored by trained personnel to ensure safety and effectiveness. Temporary trail closures are also typically put in place during burn operations. Conservation leaders emphasize that controlled burns are a critical tool for maintaining healthy landscapes and supporting wildlife that depend on native habitats.
Citizen Memorial Hospital is going to open their new hospital tower in April. This article was submitted by Mike Cullinan to the Springfield Business Journal just this past Friday. Officials at Citizen Memorial Hospital feel confident its multi-million-dollar expansion project will be ready for patients by April and have announced a public unveiling for its newer tower later this month. The $100 million expansion and renovation project began with a groundbreaking ceremony in September of 2023, according to past Business Journal reporting. The 3-story, roughly 117,000 square foot addition on the south side of the hospital doubles the size of the facility, which opened in 1982. Michael Calhoun, CEO and Executive Director of the Healthcare System and the Citizens Memorial Healthcare Foundation, said he feels elated about the oncoming launch of the new tower, which for construction is expected to be substantially complete by February 25th. When we show it, it's going to be show ready. It's going to be available to see what the finished product looks like, but we still have some time before we move in, Calhoun said, noting the move into the tower will be staged approach through March and much of April. We have to take it slow. We've got patients being cared for, so we have to transition and then support. By the end of April, we're going to be operational in it, he said. Patient care areas moving to the new tower include its expanded emergency department along the medical, surgical, intensive care, and birthing units with private rooms for patients. Additional features include a new hospital main entrance, kitchen, cafeteria, and dining area, coffee shop, and expanded gift shop, according to the officials. An additional 17,000 square feet on the third floor will remain a shell for future expansion needs. It's not very often that a community gets a new hospital in their town, Calhoun said. In fact, it's somewhat rare now, especially in rural areas. I think the community can celebrate that we're opening what is essentially a new hospital here. Calhoun said the emergency room expansion will be the largest in any department in the hospital. With the new tower, the hospital will now have 29 patient rooms. We see about 21,000 ER visits a year, and right now we only have 12 rooms that we can see them in, so it's going to be a welcome expansion. Renovations in 25,000 square feet of the existing hospital are considered the second and final phase of the project. The work is expected to wrap up by the end of this year and will include a surgical department expansion and 2 new cardiac catheterization laboratory procedure rooms. Construction costs are expected to comprise around $84 million of the $100 million project, officials said. CMH was approved for $63.5 million through the U.S. Department of Agriculture Community Facilities Direct Loan Program, according to CMH officials. Additionally, the officials say the remainder of the project is being funded by revenue bonds with several local banks and undisclosed investors. The USDA, we couldn't really do this without their partnership. It's a 30-year loan for 2.5 interest, Calhoun said. Sarah Hannick, CMH's system director of nursing, said the expansion will transform the way we deliver care. This is a game changer for our care delivery model to be able to have all private rooms, she said, noting its hospital rooms previously have been semi-private. It really will enable us to be able to take the healing portion of care, take the compassion, take the privacy portion of care, and really make it centric to the individual patient. Accommodating workforce. The project's expected completion this year comes as the health system reached a new milestone in 2025, surpassing 2,500 employees for the first time. It now employs 2,565 system-wide, according to the officials. It is that total, over 1,200 employees work. Of that total, over 1,200 employees work in the hospital, and more than 400 are expected to soon be working in the new hospital tower. A number officials expect will grow as needs demand. As we recruit additional physicians and as we add new services, we continue to recruit for new support staff, Calhoun said, noting its employee counts continues to grow. We think our forecasts said that just this building will probably end up being about 100 new net jobs, but that really is hard to gauge because if our patient volume grows by more than we projected, there will be more jobs available than what we've even said. Hannick said CMH began adding positions a couple of months ago in preparation for the expansion. One thing we hadn't considered in our current state was that we're all on one level. This new hospital is on multiple levels, and there's little things like patient transport for one, she said, noting that the hospital is adding patient transporters to its staff. We're working to get those added and hired as we prep for the new space. Of nearly 1,800 people employed by CMH's hospital and clinic business units, officials say that 83% of them live in CMH's service area: Polk, Benson, Cedar, Dade, Dallas, Hickory, St. Clair, and Northern Greene counties. Of that total, around 1,032 employees, or 58%, live in Polk County. Brad Testerman, president and CEO of Economic Development Partnership of Bolivar and Polk County, said the CMH project is not only a big deal for Polk County, but the many rural areas it also serves. The main significance of it is they're going to be able to treat more patients, he said, adding fewer will have to travel as far for health care needs. He said that includes dialysis treatments, as CMH in early January opened its 7.3 million 9,373 square foot dialysis nephrology center. The new facility is less than 1/2 mile from the hospital. As for housing to serve current and CMH employees, Testerman said the community needs more residential construction is ongoing, he said, as around 15 houses are currently being built in Bolivar, and most of which are in the $235,000 to $250,000 range. Additionally, roughly 22 units for condominiums or duplexes are under construction. That will help, he said. It's not enough, but I think as the area grows, we tend to be able to grow with it. Moving ahead, as construction wraps up on the expansion, a lot of moving activity is on the horizon for the coming weeks. But Calhoun said there are lots of meetings taking place to sufficiently prepare staff. Something also that people maybe don't realize is how much training it takes so that people are caring for patients, know where to find things, and they know how to operate in their new space, Calhoun said. So we're doing all the work in the background and preparing for the moves right now. Calhoun said the main CMH building, which was constructed in Bolivar in the 1980s and expanded in the 1990s and early 2000s, has served the community well for over 40 years. He expects even better service upon completion of the project this year. I'm just overjoyed that we've gotten to this point, and I can see the end in sight, he said. It's really a beginning, right? Because we're going to begin to care for people right in a way with resources we've not had before. CMH is determined to show off the expanded facility to the public, but Calhoun said it obviously needed to happen before April. Once we move patients in, you can't do that. We're a 24/7 service. A come-and-go grand opening event at 1500 North Oakland Avenue in Bolivar is scheduled from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. on February 28th and will include an open house, refreshments, and guided tours. J.E. Dunn Construction Company is general contract for the project, while Overland Park, Kansas-based HMN Architects, Inc. is architect and landscape architect. Frank Z Design, LLC, according to the past SBJ reporting. This was submitted by Mike Cullinan to the SBJ this morning.
Kanakuk disputes podcaster's claims, demands retraction after Epstein Files episode. Kanakuk Ministries, the Branson Area Christian Youth Camp Network, is pushing back publicly against claims repeated by a popular podcaster, saying allegations aired to a national audience were false, speculative, and significant exaggerations. In a demand letter dated January 21st, attorneys for Kanakuk told host Sean Ryan to remove part of a podcast episode and issue a public apology within 10 days or face potential legal action. The letter, sent by Springfield-based attorney Brian O. Wade of Hush Blackwell LLP, focuses on a comment Ryan made during an interview with U.S. Representative Ro Khanna that was released January 15th. According to the demand letter, Ryan told listeners he had previously interviewed advocate Elizabeth Phillips, who talks about how Kanakuk has been molesting thousands of kids for years and uses non-disclosure agreements after settlements so victims could not speak publicly. Kanakuk's attorney called that description outrageously malicious and said it was not supported by the public record. The letter notes that former Kanakuk staff members Pete Newman, a central figure in the camp's abuse scandal, was convicted and is serving 2 life sentences plus 30 years, but contends that Ryan's thousands characterization is false. Newman was convicted in 2010 of sexually abusing several boys at the camp and remains incarcerated in Missouri, according to Ozarks public radio station KSMU, which reported in 2024 that Newman was denied parole and is next scheduled for a parole hearing in 2029. Kanakuk's newly posted response page acknowledges what it calls a dark chapter in its history and apologizes to survivors and families, but says recent online allegations have wrongly expanded the scope of wrongdoing and the camp's responsibility. Kanakuk has never used non-disclosure agreements to prevent victims from reporting their abuse to police or telling their story, the camp said in a section labeled "To Clarify," adding, "We are not hiding anything." The camp also said it has participated fully in all investigations and legal proceedings and argued that no prosecutor has charged Kanakuk with violating Missouri child abuse reporting requirements in the more than 15 years since Pete Newman was convicted, because it has not. On the question of confidentiality, Kanakuk said what critics often call NDAs were standard post-settlement confidentiality clauses, and that most parents ask for confidentiality clauses to protect their child's identity from public records. In the January 21st demand letter, Kanakuk's attorney similarly wrote that many settlement confidentiality requests were initiated by victims or families, and said Kanakuk has agreed to release some victims from confidentiality obligations when asked. Kanakuk said it also has sent demand letters to Ryan and Phillips and posted the correspondence online. Ryan's attorney rejected the retraction demand in a February 3rd letter, calling Kanakuk's request legally and factually baseless, and arguing Ryan's statement was substantially true under Tennessee law. That response letter argues that Kanakuk's own demand letter concedes key underlying facts, including that Newman abused children for years, that dozens of civil lawsuits were filed, and that confidential settlement agreements were executed with victims. The dispute follows a fresh surge of attention on the Kanakuk scandal, driven in part by the Sean Ryan Show's January episode, including Ryan's interview with Phillips, released January 19th. The number of known victims tied to Newman has varied in public reporting and court filings. KSMU reported that civil lawsuits seeking damages from Newman have estimated the number of possible victims prior to his 2009 arrest includes at least 57 individuals, while noting other estimates are higher. Kanakuk's response page directs survivors to support resources and includes contact information for its victim support email, as well as links to independent victim advocacy organizations.
A nonprofit founder announces run for District 133 seat in Springfield. This is from the Springfield News-Leader, submitted by Susan Such. Just this morning. A nonprofit founder on February 20th announced his intent to run for the District 133 Missouri House seat in Springfield, according to a news release. Republican Representative Melanie Stinnett, who has served the district since 2023, announced in April 2025 that she would be running for a Senate seat rather than seeking re-election. Jerry Angelo is a Republican and a 27-year technology professor, nonprofit founder, and longtime Southwest Missouri resident. His campaign for District 133 seat will focus on making families stronger, easing financial hardships for working families, supporting first responders, and bringing practical, solution-focused leadership to Jefferson City. "I'm not running to fight political battles," Angelo said in a news release. "I'm running to solve real problems for families right here in the community. When families are strong, everything else improves: our schools, our economy, and our neighborhoods." After spending 2 decades in Southwest Missouri, Angelo believes the region is one of the best places in America to raise a family and is running to protect that and strengthen it for the next generation. Angelo spent 27 years as a data center and network security engineer for various private and Fortune 500 companies. In 2018, he and his wife of nearly 20 years, Kate, founded Vanguard Marriage and Family Advocates, which is currently his full-time job, according to the release. The nonprofit aims to strengthen families and marriages across Southwest Missouri and recently began a local project providing relationship education and support to first responders, veterans, and their families. This article was submitted by Susan Shetch.
Arc of the Ozarks to expand Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center. The Arc of the Ozarks is expanding its Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center through a building purchase. The nonprofit has purchased a property at 1450 West Cambridge Street from Empower Abilities, according to a news release. The building, located across the street from the Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center, has served as the headquarters for Empower Abilities. The latter organization is planning a summer move to 3345 South Campbell Avenue. The Arc of the Ozarks intends to occupy the property as a second building for its Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center. The first building is at 2864 South Nettleton Avenue, which also is a former Empower Abilities property, opened in January 2024, according to past reporting. The new building is expected to allow the Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center to serve more children, expand clinical services, and reduce wait times for autism evaluation and therapy. Information provided by the ARC of the Ozarks points to 4,785 active clients at the Autism and Neurodevelopmental Center, 73,154 completed appointments, 4,699 new client referrals, and $11.5 million in revenue billed as of January 23rd. Access to timely autism diagnosis and therapy can make a life-changing difference for children and their families, ARC of the Ozarks President and CEO Mike Powers said in the release. This expansion allows us to respond to the growing need in our community, serve more families sooner, and continue delivering high-quality, compassionate care. The ARC of the Ozarks closed February 4th on the purchase of the roughly 16,400 square foot building from Empower Abilities, according to Greene County Assessor and Recorder data. The financial terms of the purchase were undisclosed. Empower Abilities will continue to operate in the Cambridge Street building on a short-term lease with ARC of the Ozarks until renovations on its new headquarters are complete, according to past reporting. ARC of the Ozarks and Empower Abilities building deal has been in the works since 2024, Springfield Business Journal previously reported.
Springfield is beginning public input sessions on trash recycling updates. The city of Springfield is considering updates to its trash and recycling code, according to a community announcement. The review aims to create a clearer and more consistent system for residents and service providers. The existing code, Chapter 94, has not been updated in years. This has led to confusion, inconsistent service, and challenges for both residents and haulers. Waste management concerns. The recent waste audit found that more than 40% of material sent to the Noble Hill Sanitary Landfill could be recycled. Landfill use continues to increase, and residents have requested improved recycling access, better bulky item collection, and cleaner neighborhoods. The city is evaluating Chapter 94 to ensure that the rules governing trash and recycling services are clear, consistent, and based on best practices, according to the announcement. Areas are being considered for improvement include more consistent residential collection hours and schedules, requiring minimum levels of trash and recycling services, clarifying communication between haulers and residents, simplifying the permitting process for haulers, working towards standardized equipment and vehicles, and improving overall waste management system efficiency. Public engagement sessions. Any proposed changes would be developed through a careful review and shaped by public input before consideration by City Council in late 2026. To gather feedback and answer questions, the city's Department of Environmental Services will host a series of public engagement sessions. Residents are encouraged to attend one of the open meetings and share their perspectives. The sessions will take place on the following dates and locations. 6 to 8 p.m. March 10th at the Greene County Election Center Training Room, 1126 North Boonville Avenue. 6 to 8 p.m. March 16th at Schweitzer Brentwood Branch Library, 2214 South Brentwood Boulevard. 6 to 8 p.m. March 24th at Springfield Greene County Botanical Center, 2400 Scenic Avenue. The sessions will feature facilitated input activities with no formal presentation. Participants should expect to spend about 30 to 45 minutes sharing feedback at the come and go events. For more information and to watch a short background video, visit springfieldmo.gov/trash and recycling. This article was submitted by Janice Reeser to the Springfield News-Leader very early this morning.
Thai Express closed but coming back, owner says. Thai Express is currently closed, but the restaurant's owner says it will come back at a later date. Owner Patrick Nett wrote in a February 18th post on the Thai Express Facebook page that the restaurant's closure is temporary. Rumors based on witness accounts had circulated that day that assets were being seized from the restaurant. There was a private conflict and incident that happened that has forced us to close temporarily, Nett said in the post. While I do not know how long it will take to resolve these matters, I do anticipate resolving them and getting us back open as quickly as possible. My legal team is working diligently to get us back up and running ASAP, and we will continue to post updates on our page. Nett could not be reached immediately for additional comment by deadline. In the Facebook post, Nett said Thai Express had not been evicted. Earlier this month, Nett filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, listing estimated assets of up to $50,000 against estimated liabilities of $500,000 to $1 million, according to past reporting. Among creditors named in the bankruptcy filing was J&L Investments, LLC, which last year alleged in a lawsuit that Nett and his Thai Express business have defaulted on payments owed, setting up potential eviction proceedings. Nett's bankruptcy filing lists 17 creditors by name, including J&L Investments, Springfield Grocer Co., LVNV Funding, and Chad and Julie Schuschman. These 4 creditors previously filed lawsuits against Nett, according to past reporting. In the Facebook post, Nett said Thai Express has been under financial distress since moving to 2113 West Republic Road in 2022. I resorted to taking out what I call shark loans, specifically known as merchant cash advances that put our business in quite a financial disaster, Nett said in the post. Just over the past few years, we're talking 6 figures in interest alone. Being in this financial situation, I've made some bold decisions in the past that spiraled out of control and put us in this deeper hole.
KY3's Ashley Reynolds accepts leadership role with Cross Lines. This was submitted to the SBJ by Claudette Riley. Ashley Reynolds, an award-winning consumer investigative journalist at KY3, has accepted a leadership role at a Springfield-based nonprofit that runs a food pantry, diaper bank, and clothing closet for children. Starting March 2nd, Reynolds will be the new spokesperson and director of development for Crosslines Community Outreach. She will help launch the nonprofit's new shelter for women in the spring. Reynolds grew up in Springfield, discovered journalism as a high school student at Hillcrest High School, and has spent the bulk of her 16-year career at KY3, the Springfield area's NBC affiliate. She was executive producer and the face of the news station's On Your Side segment. Acting on tips from viewers, she reported on consumer-focused stories about money, health, and safety. We exposed so many scams, discovered loopholes in the fine print, and chased down a few crooked contractors, said Reynolds in a goodbye video aired during the 6 p.m. KY3 News, February 20th. We held people accountable and gave a voice to the little guy. My best days were when customers got their money back and when a wrong was made right. Reynolds will no longer be a full-time reporter, but she will continue to contribute to KY3 by producing a weekly segment on scams from the digital desk. I'm going to still warn you about the latest scams and show the red flags, she said in her goodbye video, and I hope your organization or church invites me to come and speak. I'm offering Scam School for anyone who will listen. Dave Davis built the broadcast journalism program at Hillcrest and its flagship HTV magazine program, which has repeatedly won national awards. He praised Reynolds' tenacity and commitment to journalism. This was her passion. I tell people you can't go into journalism if you don't have a fire in your belly. It's just not the kind of profession you want to dabble in, he said. You have to be all in. Davis taught Reynolds and kept tabs on her while she pursued a broadcast journalism degree. They have remained close. She was in the studio all the time, doing everything, learning everything she could, he said. Davis, who spent more than 4 decades at Hillcrest before retiring in 2024, said Reynolds is tender-hearted, and the consumer role at KY3 was a perfect fit. Every story she did was heads up. Here's a way to improve your life. Here's a way to avoid disaster, said Davis, now a teacher at Greenwood Laboratory School. That fits her personality. She does have a helping spirit, a caring spirit, and she is just good people. And people in the Ozarks know that. Reynolds, who will remain in the Ozarks, said it is hard to step away from her full-time reporting job, but she is eager to be home every night with her husband and daughter. Deanna Butcher, who taught for 7 years at MSU after retiring from Springfield Public Schools in 2015, said her daughter pursued journalism to serve her community. She loves helping people. She loves talking with people, Butcher said. She still has that passion. Butcher said for all of Reynolds' accolades, she is most proud of her work ethic and love of family. She said Reynolds has been offered jobs in bigger market but opted to stay in Springfield. Except for a short stint in Kentucky after graduating the University of Missouri, Reynolds has spent her entire career in Springfield. She interned at KY3 at age 17 as a Hillcrest student and returned full-time in 2011. She has 4 regional Emmy Awards and is a 2-time winner of the regional Edward R. Murrow Award. She has more than a dozen awards from the Missouri Broadcasters Association and was lauded in 2018 by the Missouri Police Chiefs Association. She is very connected and she wants to raise her daughter here, Butcher said. That is a mama's dream, to have the kids be a hardworking, successful person who wants to stick around.
Supreme Court strikes down many Trump administration tariffs. The U.S. Supreme Court struck down much of the Trump administration's sweeping tariffs on imported foreign goods this morning in a ruling that decides a consolidated 2025 lawsuit brought by several small businesses in 12 states. In a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court justices ruled that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, passed by the U.S. Congress in 1977, does not authorize the president to impose tariffs, according to the text of the court's opinion and reporting by the Associated Press. In a judicial opinion delivered by Chief Justice John Roberts covering a portion of the ruling, the nation's top judges ruled that Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution specifies that the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes, duties, imposts, and excises. Roberts' opinion also references the Founding Fathers who wrote the U.S. Constitution, stating, "The framers recognized the unique importance of this taxing power, and they gave Congress alone access to the pockets of the people. The framers did not vest any part of the taxing power in the executive branch." Roberts, joined by Justices Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, also concluded that the Trump administration's interpretation of the IEEPA, the 1977 federal statute on emergency economic powers, would represent a transformative expansion of the president's authority over tariff policy. In IEEPA's half-century of existence, no president has invoked the statute to impose any tariffs, let alone tariffs of this magnitude and scope. David Richards, Springfield-based Senior Vice President and Senior Portfolio Manager with Commerce Trust Co., noted that stock markets reacted positively this morning in the immediate aftermath of the court's ruling, particularly markets most impacted by U.S. tariffs. "A lot of those are retailers that we've all come to know that import a lot of their goods and services," Richards said. "By and large, for Southwest Missourians, this is going to be a good thing, provided that these tariffs were ruled illegal do not come back in another form. Households may save $600 to $800 per year in the cost of goods," Richards said, but the Supreme Court's ruling only covers roughly half of all tariffs that have been imposed by the U.S. government. This is good news for the American consumer. It's good news for investors from the standpoint that many of those retailers curtail a large expense that they were forced to eat. That expense was about $30 billion a month that companies were paying in addition to bringing their goods in, Richards said. "Those businesses should expect refunds from the government," Richards said, to the tune of $130 billion to $150 billion. Meanwhile, Richards said yields were increasing in long-term bond markets this morning. "Higher government bond yields tend to be an ominous economic signal," Richards acknowledged. Richards told Springfield Business Journal the Supreme Court's ruling does not decrease in uncertainty or increase clarity for businesses and investors making financial decisions. While some tariffs have been ruled unlawful by the Supreme Court today, Richards said other legal means remain available to the Trump administration to impose taxes on foreign goods. For examples, Sections 122, 232, and 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. The administration has used tariffs as a negotiating tool, Richards explained, referencing the U.S. government's trade relations with countries around the world. And so there's probably more ambiguity now, because while these tariffs are illegal, we don't know if the administration will try and implement 122 tariffs or if he'll try and encapsulate more 232 or 301 type tariffs. Richards noted, "We know the ultimate intent is to garner revenue from these tariffs and equalize the trade balance, but we don't know what other negotiating tools he may now use that this one is gone." Meanwhile, other parties have their own negotiating tools. The president has used the threat of these tariffs in bilateral negotiations with other countries, Richards said. And so to the extent that some of these trade agreements aren't ratified yet, there's significant potential that these individuals don't push forward with that negotiated contract because IEEPA has been found invalid. Impacts to smaller businesses in southwest Missouri may vary, Richards said. It depends where you're getting your supplies from, but to the extent that you are importing goods from one of those high tariff nations, you should at least for the near future see reduced cost of goods. Earlier this month, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, a part of the U.S. central banking system, found that nearly 90% of the tariff's economic burden fell on U.S. firms and customers. The New York Fed noted that import data through November 2025 showed the average tariffs on imports in the U.S. increased to 13% from 2.6% last year. Tariffs reached a spike in April to May 2025 when the U.S. administration raised rates on Chinese goods by 125 percentage points. Before that order was reversed by 115 percentage points in mid-May 2025, the New York Fed reported. By the end of 2025, the average tariff rate was 13%. In a live speech from the White House early this afternoon, Donald Trump called the Supreme Court's decision deeply disappointing. "It's my opinion that the court has been swayed by foreign interests and a political movement that is far smaller than people would ever think," the president said. He added, "The good news is that there are methods, practices, statutes, and authorities as recognized by the entire court in this terrible decision, and also is recognized by Congress, which they referred to that are even stronger than the IEEPA tariffs available to me as President of the United States." President Trump additionally said, "But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected. Although I firmly disagree with the court's holding today, the decision might not be substantially constrain a president's ability to order tariffs going forward. That's because numerous other federal statutes, which is so true, authorize the president to impose tariffs and might justify most, if not all, the tariffs issued." The president cited the Trade Act of 1974, the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, and the Tariff Act of 1930, often called the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act, as examples. Trump thanked Supreme Court Justices Brett Kavanaugh, Samuel Alito, and Clarence Thomas for their dissenting votes. President Trump announced national security tariffs would remain in place in full effect, along with an additional 10% global tariff under Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974 that would be over and above our normal tariffs already being charged. U.S. Senator Edward J. Markey, a Democrat representing Massachusetts, issued a news release shortly after the Supreme Court ruling was posted this morning. Markey stated U.S. small businesses paid more than $70 billion in tariffs from March through December 2025. This case was small businesses versus Trump, and small businesses won, Markey said in the release. Springfield Business Journal is seeking comment from the office of U.S. Representative Eric Burleson, a Republican representing Southwest Missouri in the U.S. House of Representatives. A representative answering the phone at Burleson's Springfield office said any statements would likely be posted to social media.
This out of the Marshfield Mail. Stratford man named fugitive after federal investigations. The Stratford man is now listed as a fugitive after being federally indicted in connection with what prosecutors described as a $220 million nationwide cattle fraud scheme that affected thousands of victims across the United States. Joshua Robert Link of Stratford was one of the 5 individuals indicted February 11th by a federal grand jury in Fort Worth, Texas, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Northern District of Texas. Link is charged with 10 counts of wire fraud, 1 count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and 2 counts of money laundering. Federal authorities say Link has not been taken into custody and remains at large. The indictment alleges the scheme was carried out through Agrodyne LLC, a Fort Worth-based company that marketed cattle investment contracts to individuals nationwide. Prosecutors say the company claimed investor funds would be used to purchase specific cattle, raise them, and sell the meat for profit. Instead, authorities allege the funds were misused. According to court documents, investigators believe more than $220 million was fraudulently collected from more than 2,200 victims between January 2021 and December 2023. The indictment states that newer investor funds were allegedly used to pay operating expenses, satisfy earlier investor obligations, cover personal expenses, and purchase real estate. Link is accused of wiring more than $527,000 in investor funds to purchase real property. Federal officials say he served as the company's executive director. Thousands of unwitting investors, ranchers, and others in the cattle industry nationwide were drawn in and victimized by the defendants of multi-million-dollar scheme alleged in this indictment, said U.S. Attorney Ryan Raybould in a statement. Federal Bureau of Investigation officials confirmed that Link is now considered a fugitive and are asking for the public's help in locating him. The defendants allegedly used false promises to lure prospective clients into their scheme and then misappropriated client funds to enrich themselves, said FBI Dallas Special Agent in Charge R. Joseph Rothrock. One individual, Joshua Robert Link, remains a fugitive. We are asking the public to contact the FBI if they have any information regarding Link's location. 4 other individuals are also indicted in the case, including Jed Wood of Fort Worth, Texas, Tia Link of Smithson, Missouri, Taylor Bang of Kildare, North Dakota, and Ryona Thomas of Arlington, Texas. Several of the co-defendants have already appeared in federal court and were released under pretrial supervision. If convicted, the defendants face up to 20 years in federal prison for each wire fraud count and conspiracy charge, along with up to 10 years for each money laundering count. The investigation was conducted by FBI's Fort Worth Residence Agency with assistance from the U.S. Department of Agriculture of the Office of Inspector General. The case is being prosecuted by the Assistant U.S. Attorney Mark McDonald. Anyone with information regarding Joshua Robert Link's whereabouts is asked to contact the FBI.
Springfield Chamber Board endorses lodging tax for convention center. The Springfield Area Chamber of Commerce's board has endorsed the lodging tax for the proposed convention and event center project. The lodging tax, which is scheduled to appear on the April 7th ballot, would help fund a convention and event center with an additional 3% tax on hotel, motel, and short-term rental accommodations. That would bring the city's lodging tax to 8% from 5% and sunset in 35 years. Chamber Board Chair Jessica Harmison Olson, who co-owns Max & Fine Jewelry, said in a news release that the convention center project would be beneficial to the local economy. This is about positioning Springfield for long-term success, Harmison Olson said in the release. A modern convention and event center will help us compete for additional events and hosting opportunities that our facilities currently cannot support. That means increased visitor spending, stronger support for our local businesses and citizens, and greater momentum for downtown investment. The Chamber release points to projections that the facility could generate $1.3 billion in new visitor spending and $68.7 million in tax revenue over 30 years. The construction cost of the convention center is estimated at $175 million. Additional land acquisition expenses would bring the total up to $205 million, but only if the city receives a $30 million allocation from the state, according to past reporting. That allocation was approved by the Missouri legislature but withheld by Governor Mike Kehoe, who has the sole authority to decide whether to release it before June 30th. The November 2025 iteration of a 3% lodging tax contained no sunset, but instead was planned as a permanent measure to be paid for by guests to the city's hotels, motels, and short-term rentals. That tax failed at the polls in a light turnout, single-question election, with 7% of city voters participating and 52% of those rejecting it, according to past reporting. The Chamber Board also endorsed that tax measure. And the Chamber release, President Matt Morrow said the lodging tax, if approved, would strengthen the business community. Leading regional economic development means embracing generational opportunities that accelerate the success and prosperity of our community and region, Morrow said in the release. This ballot proposal prioritizes stakeholder input and directly aligns with our 5-year strategic plan by strengthening our region's ability to attract talent, support existing businesses, and enhance quality of life for residents.
Marshfield Chamber partners with high school for their weekly show. A live stream show Marshfield Area Chamber of Commerce created a year ago is now being produced by multimedia students at the Marshfield High School. The first student-produced episode of the show, renamed Marshfield Today, aired February the 19th. Rachel Andrews, executive director of the Chambers, said the show was launched in early 2025 to promote events, highlight local resources, and spread awareness about Marshfield area business and industry. Our hope is to let our community know that what was going on in our town, in our community, but it was also a way to showcase our members, Andrews said in a February 16th interview with the Springfield Business Journal. Board member Sam Roast said the Chamber contracted with Lebanon Now Marketing, LLC, for the first year at a cost of roughly $5,000 for 48 shows. They were a good partner and produced a good show. With the agreement set to end, Roast suggested working with the high school. Roast, who also serves as city administrator, talked to Superintendent Mike Henry, who was supportive. Roast said the Chamber has invested nearly $6,000 to buy needed equipment, including cameras, microphones, lighting, laptop, and software. He said Armstrong World Industries also donated materials to create a recording studio at the high school. The goal is to air a show at 10 a.m. each Thursday. The first guest will be Henry, who is retiring at the end of the 2025 year. Students will have access to the radio for class projects when the Chamber is not using the space, Rose said. Andrews, who often hosts along with retired lawmaker Lyndall Fraker, announced that the partnership during the January 22 show, known during the first year as Good Morning Marshfield. Roast was on that show along with high school principal Nikki Thompson and multimedia teacher Jessica Gorham. Multimedia students were also briefly on camera. By producing, Gorham said students will learn technical skills plus the importance of teamwork and communication. Thompson said the show provides a larger audience for students and may help them feel more connected with Marshfield. Down the line, maybe there's room for this to turn into internships and different networking opportunities that students have that lead to jobs and hopefully ultimately keeping those kids and others in our community and continuing to give back, said Thompson on the show. Rose said in addition to producing, students will have been encouraged to develop 5-minute weekly segments to showcase district news and events. If we can come alongside them as a chamber and give them some real life experience, they're going to come out of here and they're going to have a leg up, he said during the January 22 show. Fraker said the weekly show spreads awareness about what is happening locally. If grandparents and parents and neighbors and kids, all the family, start tuning in, our viewership goes up. That's a great partnership, said Fraker during the show. It will be a good, unified thing for our community to be able to share the business world with the education world. Another school news, Republic School District names Stevens as their new high school principal. Republic High School's current associate principal will take on the role of principal for 2026 school year, according to an announcement from the Republic School District. Republic School District Board of Education approved Eric Stevens as the next principal for the Republic High School during its February 19th meeting. The district will immediately begin its search for a new assistant principal, the news release said. The leadership announcement is one of many that has taken place at Republic School Districts in the past few months. The current RHS principal, John Thompson, is taking on Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services role on July 1st. That move was facilitated by now Superintendent Matt Pierce announcing his intention to retire at the end of the 25-26 year, with his current role being filled by current Assistant Superintendent Tyler Overstreet. Dr. Stevens is a dedicated leader who has contributed greatly to the cultures and strengths of Republic High School, Overstreet said in a news release. His commitment to students, staff, and continuous improvement makes him an excellent choice to lead RHS, and I am confident the school will continue to thrive under his leadership. Stevens has served as associate principal and assistant principal at RHS since 2017. Prior to that, he taught math at the high school starting in 2008 and has also coached volleyball at high school and middle school. According to the news release, Stevens has served on district committees focused on attendance and curriculum, the Comprehensive School Improvement Plan, and Portrait of a Learner. It is an honor to step into the role of principal at Republic High School and continue serving a community that means so much to me, Stevens said in the news release. I am excited to work alongside our students, staff, and families to build on the strong foundation already in place while continuing to create meaningful opportunities that prepare every student for future success. Stevens holds a Bachelor of Science in Education and a master's degree in Secondary Education Administration from Missouri State University. He earned his doctorate in Educational Leadership and Policy Analysis from the University of Missouri. This article was submitted to the Springfield News-Leader early this morning by Susan Sush.
The Pitch Pizza and Pub on East Sunshine Street to close permanently. After 9 years on East Sunshine Street, the Pitch and Pizza and Pub is closing its doors permanently. Sunday, February 22nd was the last day of service, according to company Facebook post. Located at 2924 East Sunshine Street, the Pitch is known for Neapolitan-style pizza and a large selection of craft beer and wine. We formed lifelong relationships on both sides of the bar and shared unforgettable moments, laughing, crying, and celebrating with our friends and, of course, our family, our incredible staff, owners Brian and Tracy Bevel said on the Facebook post. We are so grateful for the opportunity and deeply thankful for everyone who has supported us on our journey. The owners did not disclose a reason for closing the restaurant in the post.
And the Stratford Sports Center is to close in May. A 6-year Stratford business centered on youth sports is shuttering, according to a company's Facebook post. Officials with Stratford Sports Center 9007 East Evergreen announced February 17th that the planned closure is set for May. The 33,200 square foot facility, which includes 4 indoor basketball courts, a kids zone gaming area, and concessions, open in 2020, according to the Business Journal archives. In the post, officials thank Stratford and the surrounding communities for their support.
Thank you for listening to the Blind Community Thrift Store radio reading service. Tune in every week, Monday through Friday, on the Blind Community Thrift Store's YouTube channel at 10 a.m. for more up-to-date news from the Springfield News-Leader, Springfield Daily Citizen, Springfield Business Journal, and 417 Magazine. Listen after we are live on the Audio Reader Network at www.reader.ku.edu. All broadcasts are played over KSMU's subcarrier airwaves at 67 kHz on 91.1 from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. Contact Audio Reader Network for more information on receiving a pre-programmed radio. Thank you.